Hello everyone, my name is Nick Hudson, and today I will describe how Myanmar's military has upgraded its airbase infrastructure in the years preceding and after the 2021 government overthrow, and how they repeatedly target civilians. Myanmar has had internal conflicts in various regions of the country since its independence from the British in 1948. The most recent and widespread conflict kicked off as the vote tallies were being taken to Parliament to confirm the National League for Democracy, a party that earned 82% of the vote in the 2021 election, had won. Instead, the country's military junta intervened and arrested all National League for Democracy party members and nullified the election results. In the following weeks, peaceful protests were met with increasing violence on the part of the military, and a new national unity government formed amongst the Burmese diaspora abroad. The national unity government rallied support around the country behind a new military alliance called the People's Defense Force, or PDF, which quickly gained as many as 65,000 fighters in mid-2023 tallies. The fighters who joined the PDF came from regions where internal conflict was previously most common, outside of the Wa state in the northeast. As the conflict continued, Myanmar's military, the Tatmadaw, acted more violently and has since burned hundreds of villages across the country. Alongside the Tatmadaw on the ground, the Air Force launched extensive airstrikes on civilian infrastructure and even concerts, with the most intense period of civilian targeting coming in the second half of 2022, when 335 airstrikes were executed across the country in a 6-month period. During this period of intense aerial campaigns, the Myanmar Air Force consistently opted for Russian-made jets and helicopters, specifically the Yak-130 fighter trainer and Mi-35P attack helicopter. To establish some context, in 2009, the Myanmar Air Force ordered the Mi-35P attack helicopters from Russia to modernize their air capabilities after 7 years without any new military aircraft. These helicopters are shown in Russia performing their final tests before shipment into 2010. The Mi-35s were delivered in batches of 4 helicopters in 2010 and 2011 for a total of 8 units. By 2015, the Myanmar Air Force began modernizing their fleet of light attack aircraft after nearly 20 years of exclusively using the Chinese-made K-8s. That same year, in June, Myanmar signed a purchase agreement with Russia to buy the Yak-130 fighter trainer jet, which possesses triple the payload capacity of the K-8 and 9 hardpoints for munitions in comparison to 5. 2 wingtip munitions positions, 6 under the wing, and 1 under the fuselage. Following the purchase agreement, Myanmar's Air Force received 6 Yak-130s between 2015 and 2016, which corresponds to the construction of 6 new hangars at Tadau Air Base in Mandalay in the same period. An additional 6 Yak-130s were delivered by the end of 2019. Returning to the topic of Mi-35 attack helicopters, which were initially procured in 2010, These same rotorcraft received optics upgrades in 2017 in the form of electronic gimbal cameras to assist targeting moving vehicles and stationary targets alike. Russian technicians were sent to Myanmar to upgrade the hardware. After the coup, the Myanmar Air Force began increasing strikes on civilian targets. In the latter half of 2022, a full year after the junta's takeover, 43% of all air attack events against civilians were perpetrated using an Mi-35. By far, the largest proportion of all aerial vehicles used by the Myanmar Air Force. The region principally on the receiving end of these violent acts was Sagaing region. One event focused upon in this report is the September 2023 attack on a school for internally displaced people and a nearby monastery in Myanmar, a village across the river from Moniwa helicopter base. While strikes by Yak-130 fighter trainers do not occur as often as the Mi-35, they have seen increased use in combat within Myanmar and are believed to be the intended replacement for the Chinese-made K-8. Within the Sagaing region, its use has noticeably increased. In May 2020, the Yak-130 was used in combat for the first time. In November 2021, just months after the coup, the construction of 6 additional hangars was completed at Pumwabi Air Base near the former capital and the largest city of Yangon. By December, an additional 6 Yak-130s were delivered to the country, bringing the Myanmar Air Force's total to 18 aircraft. As of April 2022, the Yak-130 has almost completely replaced the K-8 in a combat role. The Yak-130 strike on Canlaw village is focused on for this report. This area overview map illustrates how Myanmar's air bases are strategically located to provide comprehensive coverage over Sagaing region alongside possible paths for 2 airstrikes by different aircraft against civilian targets in the region. All the airstrike locations were pulled from geolocated open source reporting on airstrikes in Myanmar by Myanmar Witness from Twitter. For several of the airstrikes against civilian infrastructure, it was possible to determine the responsible aircraft for striking specific targets. Represented by a number 5 inside the star on the left side of the figure is the airstrike on Kankaw village mentioned previously. This airstrike was perpetrated by a Yak-130. There are no other air bases known to host the Yak-130 other than Tadau in this part of Myanmar. Moniwa Helicopter Base, here, possesses a runway but no hangar space for fixed-wing aircraft. Shantae, further to the south of Tadau Air Base, and Nampong, located northeast of Kankau Village, are not known to host the Yak 130 either. The second location of interest is indicated by the number 6. On September 10th, 2023, a Mi-35P helicopter damaged a school and monastery in Myanmar. This marked the first instance where the complete journey from the airbase to the attack location and the return to the same airbase by the same, presumably the same vehicle, was documented. Following hours of imagery analysis, a subset of the national list of active Myanmar Air Force aircraft produced by Janes in 2023 was narrowed to focus on combat aircraft present at Myanmar's air bases in and within range of Sagaing region. This refined search whittled down our list to 11 aircraft. Various configurations of the MiG-29 were simplified to a generic MiG-29 identifier. Despite the K-8 being introduced in the early 1990s, Myanmar appears to still receive deliveries of this aircraft as recently as 2021. The following 11 aircraft will be reviewed continuously for each airbase in focus in this report. The F-7M, A-5C, Mi-17, MiG-29, Mi-35, CH-3, UCAV, Yak-130, JF-17, and K-8. Returning to Moniwa Air Base, which served as the origin of operations for the Mi-35P, which executed Airstrike 6 in Figure 1. It was possible to identify 2 of the helicopters that operate at this base. First, the Mi-35P was identified based on a rotor radius of 8.65 meters, which doubled to get the diameter is 17.3 meters precisely, matching the specifications found on military focus websites. The length of the fuselage was measured to be 17.5 meters and relatively narrow. Lastly, one of the small winglets found on the P model helicopters is visible on the sunny side of the rotorcraft. In identifying the Mi-17, the main rotor's diameter is conventionally 21.25 meters, while this aircraft possesses a 2.5 meter fuselage, wide in comparison to the Mi-35P. The mensuration of the radius of the rotor came out to be 10.66 meters, which is roughly half of the specifications of the main rotor, and the bottom of the aircraft mirrors the shape of diagrams. In Figure 2, the Moniwa helicopter base upgrades are detailed alongside helicopters we looked at previously. In the November 2021 image, you can see there are 6 helicopters and various landing areas, 2 of which are located at the Moniwa Airport Terminal building. One of the helicopters on the 4 pads inside the base landed at a converted soccer field. 4 of the helicopter areas located inside the base all host Mi-17s, while the 2 at the terminal building host Mi-35s. as identified previously. In the April 2023 image, you can see a new airstrip was added to accommodate more helicopters. It is likely that with the expansion of facilities at Maniwa, the helicopter base may be able to increase the amount of strikes carried out against the civilian population as the conflict continues. Transitioning from helicopters to aircraft, we will be looking at Tadau Air Base outside of Mandalay. On the left, we have the A5C. The A5C can be identified with swept-back wings with flattened wingtips that reach past the start of the tail, elliptical tail configuration, and a long pointed nose. The Yak 130 on the right-hand side is identified with the help of Myanmar witnesses reporting. There are visible cuts along the horizontal stabilizer, delta-shaped wings with four hardpoints each with extended wing roots, and large air intakes and a slanted fuselage. Depicted in Figure 3 is Tadau Air Base and an aircraft overview. Analysis of CNES, Airbus, and Maxar imagery revealed the existence of possible A5C and confirmed Yak 130 aircraft at Tadau Air Base, which shares its runway with Mandalay Airport. The existence of Yak 130 aircraft at Tadau is reaffirmed by open source intelligence reporting upon the delivery of the aircraft in 2016. The construction of new aircraft coverings, which appear on the right, was completed between April 2015 and March 2016, which coincides with the delivery timeline for the Yak 130 trainer jets. An additional 8 possible administrative or munitions buildings were added to the base since January 2014. The facility with the largest variety of aircraft is Shantae Air Base. From imagery in 2006, 3 aircraft were identified. The first is the A5C, which we already covered, with its swept-back wings and flattened wingtips and elliptical tail configuration. In the middle, we have the MiG-29. According to Myanmar Witness, it can be identified with perpendicular brake flaps running diagonally outwards from the thrust vector's nozzles, mid-mounted swept trapezoidal wings, and a leading edge root extension, and a slanted fuselage. And the third aircraft identified from 2006 imagery was the F7M, or FD7M. In identifying these aircraft, one looks for isosceles triangular wing shape, elliptical tail configuration, and a flat nose. An additional 3 aircraft were found at Shantae Air Base. The JF-17 is identified with trapezoidal wing configuration and flattened wingtips with extended wing roots, conventional tail formation, and a rounded fuselage for engine intake. Again, according to Myanmar Witness, the K-8 is also present at this facility and can be identified with a short vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer right above the nozzle, mid-mounted straight-shaped wings, small vertical air intakes, and a slim fuselage with a long 2-seater bubble canopy, and rounded nose. The final aircraft is a bit unique. The CH-3 is a unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV, and can be identified for its distinct shape in a canard layout with no tail. It also has swept back wings with large winglets, and the body of the aircraft narrows towards the nose. Shantae's airbase upgrades and equipment overview is detailed in Figure 4. Analysis of Maxar imagery from February 2006 revealed the existence of several types of aircraft which were previously mentioned: the A5C, MiG-29s, and F-7Ms, next to a 3,000-meter runway. West of this runway, no support buildings or facilities are found in the 2006 imagery. Significant upgrades were completed between 2007 and 2011, which include the construction of 75 support buildings, 8 additional hangars, highlighted in orange, improved taxiways to existing hangars and new structures, which are highlighted in dashed yellow, and an extension to of the runway from 3,000 meters to 3,650 meters, or an additional 650 meters. This snapshot at right was taken in March 2011, when the construction of the facility was still underway. An additional probable aircraft support facility was completed in 2019 at the southern end on the west side of the facility. Additional attack aircraft were found at the facility, which include the JF-17, K-8, and CASC CH-3 UCAV. These aircraft appeared in recent years since the coup occurred. The final airbase that we will focus on in this report is Nampong in Myanmar's Kachin state. 5 aircraft were discovered at this airbase, but 3 are of particular interest. The Mi-35P was spotted at this facility, which can once again be identified with small winglets for rocket pods on the P model, conventional tail with horizontal stabilizer next to the fin, and an 8.6 meter rotor radius with a diameter of 17.3 meters. The K-8 once again has a short vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer right above the nozzle. The mid-mounted straight-shaped wings, small vertical air intakes, and slim fuselage alongside a long 2-seater bubble canopy and rounded nose. And finally, the Mi-17. The Mi-17 can be identified with a 10.5 meter rotor radius, diameter 21.25 meters, and a wide nose with a 18.5 meters fuselage length. Adjustments were made to the identification guide for this airbase in particular due to difficulties with shadows. Figure 5 depicts Nampong Air Base upgrades along with an overview of the aircraft stationed there. On the left is imagery of the airbase in February 2006, which shows F-7M jets and several propeller aircraft near the hangars. By January 2017, several new aircraft appear at the facility, including Mi-17 helicopters, Mi-35 attack helicopters, K-8 trainers, and A-5C attack aircraft. The construction of the 6 new aircraft coverings, taxiways, and support facility shown at right were completed between November 2013 and 2015, slightly before the delivery of the first round of Yak 130s. Despite being completed around the same time, it is likely the new aircraft coverings are for either K-8 or A-5C aircraft, which were relocated to Nampong upon the delivery of newer equipment. In conclusion, Myanmar's upgraded military hardware and infrastructure has enabled a sustained campaign of violence against civilians. In the future, we would look to monitor for infrastructure upgrades and the receipt of new aircraft, build range estimate graphics on aircraft that are identified at each airbase, and begin mapping Tatmadaw arson incidents against towns and villages. Thank you for your time, and I'll open it up to questions. If you have any that you would like to email to me, please feel free to contact me at nhudson6@jh.edu.